Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? So what we're going to be talking about today is something that is extremely important that everybody needs to know about, okay? And this is a topic that I have covered before. It's about an Amish farmer, a family man, okay? His name is Amos Miller. And he has come under fire lately, under scrutiny. By the government um, because he and his family not only live a totally sustainable life, okay, but they also sell product from their sustainable farm. And I am rooting for him 100%. But there are new developments, okay? There are new developments. And there are new developments in the Pennsylvania government's legal crusade against Amos Miller. And he's been under attack for years. And when I say years, I mean years. And it's so sad. And it's only because he grows, produces, and sells food to the public outside of the control, the matrix, if you will. Okay. According to the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture, all food is illegal unless it is manufactured in a government approved facility of the kind managed by the USDA. If a farmer in any way defies this by producing food without government approval, such as the case is Mr. Miller, then said food can be destroyed at will by the government, according to the government. Excuse me. When the hell? What? So PA Agriculture says who is allowed to produce food in America and who is not. In this case, Mr. Miller, who has sold unpasteurized raw milk. Now, the court order, okay, because I read the manuscripts, I read the court orders, I read all of the court documents, okay, because this really, it upsets me, okay. It says none of the food at Amos Miller's farm was unfit for human consumption, as reflected in the fact that the PDA acknowledged that in failing to identify the food as unfit for human consumption or unadulterated, within the meaning of the law, in its order of destruction, none of the food was adulterated within the meaning of the law, and the food that did not defraud its customers. Because you could go, he had a website, and you could go onto his website and you could buy like packages of meat, like if you were to go to, say, the butcher, and you know how they have like package A, package B, package C, and it's this amount and that amount. Okay. He did the same thing. Okay. Let's see. It defraud its customers could not be constitutionally restrained. Equally, PDA's actions exceeds its statutory authority and invades the constitutional liberties of Amos Miller and his members as the PDA seeks to dramatically expand its own powers, claiming it now has the authority to search, seize, and shut down any farm from producing any food for its own members, its family, and community, including destruction of food that sample tests show was fit for human consumption of food made at a farm that complies with all federal sanitation standards and has a quarter-century history of success solely because the PDA did not give a retail food facility permit to the farm that doesn't even fit the definition of a commercial retail food facility in the first place. So this means pretty much all Amish and Mennonite farmers. Just about, right? PDA demands to label food in a farmer's freezer be called retail packaged goods on a shelf merely because someone might someday, may, here we go with the might and the may, eat the food when the law expressly cannot constitutionally apply to unpackaged food in a farmer's own freezer. Wait, let me wrap my head around this for just a second. So if someone who doesn't know, so someone could go into Amos Miller's house, okay, and eat his food. They're saying that they may go into his house and eat food out of the farmer's own freezer. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that for just a second. The PDA seeks to destroy not only the food on the farm, but destroy the farm itself. This constitutes a fine hundreds of times higher than permitted by the summary offense laws for unpermitted retail food facilities. As such, an injunction would be an excessive fine under both the Pennsylvania and United States Constitution. PDA seeks to turn informed consent on its head, denying Americans the right to choose their own food because the food wasn't from a PDA facility. PDA claims the right to invade a family farm anytime they want. Now, with that being said, I know personally that quite a few of you in this community have family farms. Watch your back. With or without a warrant, and dictate to the farmer that he can do with his own food, including prohibiting from feeding himself, his family, or his own animals without express advance permission from the PDA. PDA seeks an inequitable exercise of this court's equitable power beyond PDA's statutory authority or constitutional constraint. Let that sink into your brains for just a second. I have to woosah for a second. Okay. So while the issue at hand here with Mr. Miller primarily has to do with his selling of raw milk and meat outside of the bounds of what the government and their establishment and their matrix consider safe and legal, the PA's agricultural arguments against him have gone far out of, they're coloring outside the lines now, okay? Far-reaching implications for all homegrown food. All of it. All of it. If you live in Pensy, which I still have family there, okay, in Philly, in Levittown, in Bensalem, okay? Say, now, we're Italian, okay? So we're all growing tomatoes. We all have whatever, okay? Now I'm talking to my family here, okay? And I'm talking to you too. Say you're growing tomatoes because you got to get ready for the growing season because we're going to be making vats of sauce and canning it up, okay? Now I'm going back to when even my grandparents were still alive and we lived on the horse farm in Morristown, New Jersey, okay? Now we're going back, okay, because I'm 48, all right? And I remember being 5 years old living on my grandparents' horse farm in Morristown, New Jersey. And my grandparents' farm was so immensely large, okay? My grandmother would be canning for days. And I would sit there with tomatoes in my hands going squish, squish. Literally, I'll never forget it for as long as I live. And my grandfather will be out in the barns with the horses. So you have a garden, whether it's on the porch, in the backyard, whatever, and you're growing your tomatoes. Those tomatoes are no longer considered to be food in the eyes of the Pennsylvania agriculture, but rather they are illegal tomatoes. They're illegal. The same goes for cucumbers, basil, whatever. Any fruit, any veg, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's parsley. It's illegal. They can take it. And they can destroy your own home too because you're growing it. Now the state is saying this. This is Pennsylvania saying this. A few petty unelected bureaucrats in a state office telling the rest of the state that food is illegal unless it was approved by the state of Pennsy. Now I'm going to go back for just a moment, okay? During the Great Depression, when everybody had gardens, because this is how they got by, this is how they fed themselves. Would they have enacted this back then too? You know what? Everybody do me a favor. Get your freedom gardens going and shove those tomatoes where the sun don't shine, right with these agricultural people. You know what I'm saying? Okay? So numerous supporters of Mr. Amos Miller, which I am one of them 110%, and the food freedom cause at large, noted that this dangerous development with the pig agriculture, who needs to have tomatoes shoved up their yazoo, threaten all Americans who could one day wake up to find that their home gardens are now illegal in the eyes of the state in which they reside. We all got gardens, man, whether it's an herb garden that's growing on our windowsill, or we got tomato plants out in the yard. Shit. What about all the fruit trees that I planted myself years ago, and they keep producing every single year? Just let that sink in for just a second. Liberty is so infringed upon that it has become non-existent here. If the government is successful in stamping out all unapproved food operations in the U.S., the result would eventually become food famine. But that's what they want. They want us to be so completely dependent on the government. Why, man? Why? So in honor of Amos Miller, start your freedom gardens, sow your seeds, and reap your illegal veg. Do it now. I'm serious. All right, guys, I'm out of here, okay? I will see you in the next one. You stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping. And as always, fear less. Ciao.